Hi there, Eve. Let's take a look at your new set of essays. This one is about online communication at work. Here's what you wrote. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether companies and organizations should now merely focus on online communication than face-to-face meetings. Some people believe that with the current pandemic, online communication is the appropriate solution for companies to survive and communicate with their customers, partners, and employees. Furthermore, I believe that online communication is the future of organizations. This is because if we go back to the past, we can see that online communication had already being implemented, especially by universities via online course. This essay will discuss both issues using an example from French government and hypothetical situations experimented by companies. Okay. For the most part, this is nice. There are a few things that I do want to change here. The first one is that it's really rather long for an introduction. I'm not saying that it has to be as short as your conclusion. Your length for your conclusion is fine, but you really did go into a lot of detail in your introduction that you don't need to. And quite frankly, it's always a better idea to kind of use some of that information and some of that effort and time in your body paragraphs rather than your introduction. So I want to look through your introduction again, correct some of the language, and talk about what I thought you could have left out and what could have been changed, okay? So let's take it piece by piece. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether companies and organizations should now merely focus on online communication rather than face-to-face meetings. Now, that's not really quite accurate. That's not really a rephrasing of the prompt. The prompt takes it as a given that this has already happened. But what you wrote here is whether they should do this or not. So it's not really, it's okay, but it's not really a rephrasing of the situation. I mean, they're assuming here that this is already happening. So that could have been something you could have done here. You could have said instead, experts throughout both the developing and developed world have noticed that companies and organizations are now focusing on online communication rather than face-to-face meetings, okay? That, I think, would have been a more accurate rephrasing of this. Is it a huge deal? No, not really. But what you do need to be careful about is if you wrote it like this, then you could have potentially come into this risk of developing this differently. So taking it as a well, should online communication outweigh face-to-face meetings? Because they're already assuming that it's happening. Okay, so it kind of changes your shift. And when you change your shift even a little bit away from what the essay is asking you to talk about, then you raise the potential for going off topic. You didn't, okay? But I do just want to point it out to you so that's something you're aware of. Okay, now here, this I think you could have left out. Really, this you didn't need to write it here. This is more information that you could have put in your body paragraphs rather than your introduction. Remember that your introduction has a couple of really basic roles that it needs to fill. Number one, it needs to rephrase the prompt, okay? It needs to show where the dilemma is, what the debate is, what's happening here, what are we concerned about? And then you have to answer the command here, the command or the question. You have to address it, okay? So, I would have taken this, I would have kept it, okay? Maybe just changing a little bit of the language as I stated before. And then you could have said, not furthermore, but you could have said, personally, I believe that online communication, this shift towards online communication is positive and is the future of organizations, okay? And then I don't really think you needed to have this line here as well. I think you could have left this out. It doesn't really belong in your introduction. So then you could have said, this essay will discuss this viewpoint using examples from the French government, okay? Now you say here both issues. What do you mean? What are these both issues that you're referring to? That's not particularly clear, okay? Now, logically, we can assume you're talking about face-to-face meetings versus online communication, but your reference to this is so far away from this both issues that it's not considered a good example of cohesion to do it like this. So you should have you should have either said it will express my viewpoint, okay, or you could have said this essay will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of online communication. Also, that would have been okay. All right, so something like that. So as far as the introduction goes, I would have made some changes. Now let's take a look at your body paragraphs. Since the inception of the COVID-19 pandemic, many workplaces have changed their method of communication. Here you need something a little more. You need a semicolon, or you need some sort of a linking device. It's not enough to just combine these two with a comma, because essentially they're two very separate ideas, very separate sentences, essentially. They are now using online communication more than face-to-face meetings. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, due to the current pandemic of COVID-19, many governments, lowercase g, around the world have decided to, I don't understand this. What does that mean, in-store? The lockdown in their country. I think you mean something else here. This means, an S, non-essential companies like retail shops are now not shouted, you want shut down. Shut down just to avoid the spread of the virus. Secondly, organizations, in order to survive, have introduced, all right, I don't understand this. So hold on a second. What are you saying here is your first reason? The first reason is that non-essential companies like retail shops are closed. All right, so what does that mean? And then you say here secondly, but I didn't really understand your firstly. Okay, so the stores are shut. So where does the online communication come in here? So secondly, organizations, in order to survive, have introduced online communication so that they can still pursue their activities, get rid of with, and still get in touch with their customers. Okay, so it's not really a secondly. It's really a therefore. For example, recent empirical research by the French government show that companies have asked employees to continue to work from home in order to pursue their activities. Or you just said pursue their activities and pursue their activities, so use a different expression here. Also, this online communication is well appreciated by employees. This is, again, semicolon here or a new sentence. This is due to the fact that it gives them the opportunity to work from home in their own space. Next, employees can spend more time with their families and even more take care of their youngsters. After that, people do not have to wake up early or be in a hurry as usual. Finally, people can save money that they used with a D to use for petrol or public transport. It must not be forgotten that although online communication is now mainly used D by a big number of organizations, S, this cannot stop the desire for people and organizations to still need to use. Or what happened here? Where? Okay. This cannot stop the desire for people and organizations to still need to use face-to-face communication. Therefore, it's conclusively clear that when the lockdown around the world could be lifted, not lifted up, could be lifted, face-to-face communication will be used more than online conversations, S, which have some drawbacks. Okay. Now, Eve, I'm really rather confused here. Let me tell you why. It's a really long paragraph, number one. In fact, I want to take a look at your word count. All right, it's 590 words. So it's rather long. Did this take you 40 minutes to write? If you can write 590 words in 40 minutes, then great. But it is a little long. As I already pointed out, your introduction was too long, and I would have taken out those two sentences. But I thought that your first body paragraph had some issues. I already brought up one of them, the fact that here you talk about your central reason, and you didn't really get to what the reason is until here. So, so basically, the central reason is that even though stores are closed, online communication allows businesses to continue to function. That's the reason why we're using online communication more than face-to-face, okay? So it took you a really long time to get to that. If it were me, I would have liked to have seen this up here in the beginning. So you said this, they are now using online communication more than face-to-face meetings. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, due to COVID-19, many organizations now need to connect with customers online as they are closed for face-to-face interactions. Okay, and then you could have explored that. You could have talked about the details, the support for that, in other words. Okay. Let's see. And then if you had done that, you didn't even really need this for example because you essentially explained it. You essentially supported it. So you didn't really quite need this. Then look what you did here. The rest of the paragraph then really read to me like a list. Okay. So it's like list. It's appreciated by employees. They can spend more time with their families. They don't have to wake up early. They can save money that they used to use for petrol. Okay, and then, so all that really read like a list. What I really wanted you to do instead was to take just one of those things that you thought was the strongest main idea and just support it better. Okay, so here, why don't we try this? Online communication is appreciated by employees as it saves them a great amount of time and money that can be used for other purposes. For example, when working at home, employees can continue to function in their work, okay, but they can take care of household responsibilities or even take care of children. Additionally, they can save money that they used to use for petrol. So do you see how I framed it differently? I basically said that employees like it because it saves them time and money. And then I explained how that happens. What you did instead really just led like one giant list. Okay? And then after that, I don't really know what happened here. It's like you totally shifted views. You totally changed. And then you said, yeah, despite this though, a lot of people don't really like this. And that doesn't belong in this paragraph because each paragraph needs its own central idea. Okay, so if this paragraph is talking about why we have shifted to online communication, it just doesn't make sense to then start and talking about why people really want face-to-face communication. It doesn't belong here. So you should have wrapped up this paragraph after what I suggested here and then just said, therefore, not that this will end with the lockdown, okay, or with the end of the lockdown, but instead, therefore, online communication has served as a lifeline for many people who are, at home because of COVID-19. Okay, that's how you should have ended this paragraph. So all of this really, it just changes, there's just no central idea. Okay. Also, you really want to be careful about overusing linking devices in the beginning of your sentences. So you didn't really do it up here. But then, look at this. Also, next, after that, finally. All right, you want to be careful with having too many of these, especially one right after the other, like machine gun fire. It's just like it these aren't really considered like a high level way of creating cohesion in your writing. So you want to avoid using too many of them, okay? All right, so let's take a look at your next paragraph. Okay. However, it is important to notice that online However, why don't we do this? Change the however, make it although. So, although it is important to notice that online conversations have many drawbacks, face-to-face meetings are still needed in our workplace, and the impact that face-to-face meetings have on people and organizations cannot be overstated. Or you need to be careful here. We're now not talking, in other words, we're not talking about why face-to-face meetings are good. That's not what you want to do here. look again at the task. It's asking you if the advantages of online communication outweigh the disadvantages of online communication. So you're not supposed to talk in favor or against face-to-face meetings. What you're supposed to be analyzing here is online communication. Now you're supposed to be talking about its disadvantages. Okay, so it may seem to you that it's logical that by talking about the advantages of face-to-face meetings, you are in essence talking about the disadvantages of online communication. But it doesn't really work like this. You need to focus on online communication as its disadvantages. Now, it's logical, of course, that you may introduce elements of face-to-face meetings. So, for example, if you say that in online communications you cannot see nonverbal communication. You can't see body language, whereas this is very clear in face-to-face meetings. All right, you can do something like that, but you don't want the whole paragraph to be about how wonderful face-to-face meetings are. That's not the point of this, okay? So this sentence for me basically had a number of problems. I would like to rewrite it entirely, okay? Because look, you really focused on face-to-face meetings here. So instead you could have said that although online communication is very beneficial, especially in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, the disadvantages associated with this type of communication cannot be overstated. All right, that would be a better way to do this. So let's see. This is largely because with online communication, no and, we can hear the noise from home that is not appropriate for formal meetings. Okay, also, all right, now remember, this is exactly what I told you about before. You don't want this to read like a list. So you have one reason here, and now you have another reason here, and then you have another reason here. You don't want to do that. You want to stick to 2 reasons, approximately, okay, but develop them. All right, so let me show you what I mean. This is because with online communication, we can hear the noise from someone's '(s) home that is not appropriate for formal meetings. For example, if there are children arguing in the background or pets barking, this can become very distracting for both the employee at home, but for other colleagues this person is communicating with. Okay, so that is how you support this. All right, so also people who work from home tend to focus on doing something else than being on their duties. Now, I want you to really be careful here because both of your examples have to do with working from home, but the essay is not asking you exclusively about working from home. It's asking about online communication. Remember that online communication can also be from the workplace. So you can communicate with a customer online, either through, like a video call or through email, okay, or through like a Zoom meeting, for example, since we're talking about meetings, right? Okay. But it's not just about working from home. So you've really narrowed down the focus here, and it's a little too narrow, okay? So this is not related to online communication. This is just related to working from home. So an examiner would look at this and say that this is off topic, okay? Because this really has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be talking about here. Now, this feels very conversational, Eve. Another thing is that when, all right, this is the way we talk, but this is not the way we write in an academic essay. So you could have said something like, another factor worth considering is, that would be okay. So why don't we try that? Another factor worth considering is that when customers are calling to seek advice, they might experience some noises which can make the conversation difficult. All right, you just said something about noise from home here, so I don't know why you're bringing it up down here again. So, for example, a German governmental study showed that companies always inform their customers that during their call seeking for advice, they need to be aware that they may experience some noises due to the fact that their employees are working from home, okay? Therefore, those drawbacks of online communication show that customers can be frustrated when they are not in face-to-face communication with their bank, for example, when they need personal or specific advice from them. Okay, so again, this is off topic, Eve. I mean, you're talking about phone calls, you're talking about working from home, but that's not what this essay is about. It's about online communication from the workplace, okay? Hang on. Let's just double check. Look, in many workplaces, online communication is now more common. So all of this focus on working from home and even like phone calls, it's not appropriate development. Okay, so you really rather got off topic here. Alrighty, let's go on. So from the arguments and examples given, it is clear to observe that with the pandemic of COVID-19, online communication is more common in organizations than face-to-face meetings. Nevertheless, after the pandemic, I personally believe that face-to-face communication will be used more than online communication. All right, that's fine. So Eve, we spent really a ton of time on this essay. I really want to go on to your task one. You should have a clear idea of where this had some issues. Okay, so I don't want to spend any more time on this. I really would like to go. All right, here's that task one. You want to apply for a full-time position. Let's see what you wrote. Okay, dear manager, I am applying for the post of full-time web developer assistant as advertised in the big screen of our company on Friday, February 26th. I don't understand that. What does that mean in the big screen? I don't understand. Okay, but let's move on. I am an experienced and web developer person, having worked in the industry for the past 3 years as freelance person. I am currently part-time cleaner in your lovely company, and when I am off work, I create and design site web for many companies and business owners. All right, I really want to clean up some of the grammar here. So, I think that the idea here is not that you're working at a cleaner in this company. The idea is that you work part-time in this company, but you want to be considered for a full-time role. But okay, I mean, we can do that. We can pretend that you were hired to do something else and you want to now be a web designer. So let's fix some of this, all right? I am an experienced web developer, having worked in the industry for the past 3 years as a freelancer. I am currently a part-time cleaner in this company, and when I am off work, I create and design websites for many companies and business owners. So when I saw the job when I saw the job advertised on the screen, I directly decided to apply because I think this is an opportunity for me to work for a well-known company. All right, supposedly you already work for them. And you didn't directly decide to apply. You want to ask permission to apply since you already work there, okay? And then here, you direct and direct, it's a little too much. So as a result, with my other qualification in UX design, I have managed to ameliorate and make this website of my local charity more attractive so that people can pay attention to it. All right, that's not a direct result, okay? Because they're not really related. So it's not like this resulted in you making the website of a charity more attractive. That doesn't really work. So you want to use a different kind of linking device here. So I decided to apply because I think this is an excellent opportunity for me. How about this? To further my career as a web developer in a well-known company. Because you supposedly already work for them. So, with my qualifications in UX design, I have managed to improve and make the site of my local charity more attractive so that, how about this, rather than make it pay more attention to it so that it can draw more traffic, all right, which is nice topic vocabulary. The result has been fantastic, and the charity managed to raise £5,000 with an S in 3 months. Nevertheless, I am more than ready to meet the challenge of working in a challenging. How about this? I'm more than ready to meet the challenge of working in a fast-paced and rewarding company like yours. Also, I hope that what I would learn with you will help me to settle a real company in the future. All right, careful with that. First of all, I don't understand what that means, to settle a real company. Secondly, what are you saying? That the company you want to work for is not a real company? So you have to really be careful with this kind of language, okay? It sounds like you're telling them that they're not a real company. All right, let's move on. Because of my experience and drive, and since I have worked ED as a freelance web developer and UX designer, I believe that I have what it takes to become, here, a successful web developer assistant. Also, I am sure I will make, because I am sure to make means something different. I am sure I will make the website of the company stand out. With a well-designed website, the company would attract more customers and will make a huge profit. I would welcome the opportunity to prove my knowledge and ability in such an exciting new department. Therefore, I would be grateful if you would consider my application. My CV is attached in PDF format as requested. I very much look forward to hearing from you. Full stop. Don't forget to write yours faithfully. You don't know the name of the person you called him dear manager or her dear manager. You need to absolutely have a sign off. It should be, in this case, yours faithfully. Since you don't know the name of the person you were writing to, this should have had a full stop. Now, Eve, this is what is counted for a word count. All right, all of this and this. Check it out. This is 306 words. It's really just far too long. All right, a good rule of thumb would have been somewhere around 200, maybe 220 words. But really, after that, it's just too long. And I found that I don't want to say that you went off topic, but you really just included a lot of details that you should not have. So you absolutely need to edit this down. Okay, some of the information was superfluous, some of it was redundant, some of it wasn't particularly helpful or informative, so you need to cut some of that out. Okay, so I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this gives you some food for thought and helps you understand what you need to be doing to some of these tasks. Okay, so I'll be waiting. Oh wait, no, I don't need to wait for your next set of essays. I've got them here. I will try to get to them today, although I want to encourage you to perhaps take the feedback from today's set of essays and then perhaps maybe make any sort of appropriate changes to the next set. This is what I was telling you in my email, where it's usually a good idea to get the feedback from one set and then write another set. This is what I meant. You may want to do that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you a chance to perhaps make some edits to the other set that you sent us and then make corrections. Okay? Otherwise, I'll correct them tomorrow. Alrighty? So good luck, and I'll take a look at your next set of essays most likely tomorrow in case you want to resubmit them. Good luck.